let's go ahead and take a look at this number line, and we're going to be taking a look at the inequality x is greater than or equal to 4, and that's graphed on our number line, and we want to talk about the different ways that we can express this interval. And we're going to be using interval notation quite a bit in this course, so let's take a look at the different ways we can write this. Obviously, we can go ahead and express x is greater than or equal to 4 on the number line. We can also take a look at expressing this using set notation. In set notation, you're going to be identifying your variable, and in our case, we're talking about x values. And you're going to see a vertical line appear after that. The vertical line here means such that. And then you're going to have the restrictions. So in this case, we're talking about x values that are greater than or equal to 4. Right? So that's what our set notation is going to look like if we were representing this interval. And then our third way to represent it is going to be using interval notation. And interval notation is going to be using a set of brackets and parentheses. Right? And it depends on if the number is included or not. So let's talk about this real quick. I'm going to be using my bracket if my number is included. And you might see that if you were talking about something with maybe the inequality symbols, maybe your less than or equal to sign or your greater than or equal to sign. If you're looking at the number line, you might see this represented by one of the solid dots. If I'm going to be using parentheses, this would be for the case where the number is not included. So if we're working with our inequalities, you might see your less than or your greater than symbol. You might also see the open dot, which is the one that's not filled in. And the other case that might use the parentheses is when you're going to be working with infinity, so either positive or negative infinity. And your infinity symbol kind of looks like a sideways 8. So let's take a look at our number line. Okay, we're talking about numbers that are greater than or equal to 4. And you'll see here that the 4 has a solid dot. Okay. And it's extending all the way to the right-hand side here, so it's actually going past the 9, that's what the arrow means, right? It's going all the way towards positive infinity. So when we're writing interval notation, we're going to write this with two numbers. We want our smallest number to be on the left-hand side. And our largest number to be on the right-hand side. And then we can use our brackets and parentheses accordingly. So the two numbers I'm going to be using for this interval, our smallest number here is the number 4, and my largest number in this interval is going to be the positive infinity. Right? Remember that infinity is always going to get a parenthesis, and with the 4, it was a solid dot here, so I'm allowed to include the number 4. It's included, so I'm going to go ahead and put a bracket on that 4. And this would be our final answer if we were using interval notation. So let's go ahead and take a look at one more example. In this one, we want to write the interval expressing all the real numbers that are less than or equal to -1, or greater than or equal to +1. So let's go ahead and put this on our number line first. And let's work with the less than or equal to -1 portion. Right, I'm allowed to have it be equal to -1. So I'm going to go ahead and put a solid dot here at the -1. And my numbers that are less than that are going to be the numbers that are going here towards the left-hand side, towards those smaller numbers. Right? And if I'm working with the interval where the numbers are greater than or equal to 1, right, it's allowed to be equal to 1. So that's going to be a solid dot at the 1. And these are going to be numbers that are going here towards the right-hand side. They're getting bigger. All right, so let's take a look at each of these intervals. If I'm working with the interval on the left, my smallest number, remember that arrow's going towards the left-hand side, which means our numbers are getting smaller and smaller, right? This is going towards -infinity. And my largest number here for this interval is going to be the -1. So infinity is always going to get a parenthesis, right? In my -1, it's allowed to be equal to -1. There's a solid dot there, so I'm going to go ahead and give that one a bracket. If I work with this next interval on the right-hand side here, right, my smallest number for this interval is a 1. And my arrow's going here to the right-hand side, so it's going all the way towards positive infinity. Right, infinity always gets a parenthesis. And I have a solid dot here at the 1, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a bracket. So this would be my final answer if I was using interval notation. You could leave it like this, or you could go ahead and include the union symbol, which looks like a U, between the two intervals that you have written.